has doubled on the second pitch of the game. Three hits overall, a run scored, an RBI. He was batting ninth in the first two series between the Royals and the Indians. But Grady Sizemore struggling. That's a swing, by the way, says Darryl Cousins. Grady Sizemore struggling, trying to take some pressure off of him and ride the hot bat of Cabrera, who has 5 hits in 10 at-bats and 3 walks against Zach Greinke. And he hits it hard into right field. Guillermo played on a bounce. So Cabrera in each of the first 3 games has opened with a base hit. And up comes Sizemore. 77 beautiful degrees on a Thursday afternoon. We started at 1:11 Central Daylight Time. And the official time and temp presented by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI.
I talked with Manager Wedge about Cabrera before the game, and we're just mainly talking about his power to left field that we've been seeing out of him. And he says he really does a great job of getting extended and staying together in a tight package, and he's a lot stronger than he looks.
He doesn't strike you as the type of guy that can drive it to the opposite field the way he has. Sizemore lays down a bunt. Greinke, an excellent fielder, throws him out. There are many other pitchers in the league who don't make that play, and the Indians would have 2 on with nobody out.
Well, that's true, and Zach is a shortstop by trade, and he gets off the mound as well as anyone. He goes over. The one thing you watch on this play here is just how poised he is. He barehands the ball, and he really rotates his body good and makes a nice throw to first base.
You know, you made that play look easy. A lot of shortstops and third basemen make that play look easy. Zach made that play look easy, but when you really look at it close, when that ball goes into his hand, I mean, there's no time to find the seams. There's no time to find the right grip, and I could see where that ball could get away from you.
Well, when it's rolling, there's always that possibility, but he does a great job of really setting his foot at the same time so he can rotate back to first base. A lot of pitchers will want to take a crow hop, or they'll want to do the jump turn. So by being an infielder, he's able to get down on the ball and fill it with one hand with good balance and make the throw back to first base.
When you don't get the grip that you want, do you grip tighter or do you grip looser?
Well, normally when you don't get the grip, you take a crow hop to get the grip. But when you get in a rush like that, you throw it the best way you can and hope you don't throw it in the seats. But chances are, if you don't have a good grip, you shouldn't throw the ball because you're not going to control it the way you want to.
Olivo almost hit Greinke, almost hit Cabrera. And so an error puts Cabrera at third base with 1 out.
Well, we know Olivo throw behind runners, but you have to throw the ball to the bag because the shortstop's going to cover. And if you throw the ball behind him like that, you put the runner between him and the ball, and he can't make the adjustment. So it was a rush throw by Olivo, but you got to get that ball to the bag if you're going to try that play.
Infield will come in halfway for Victor Martinez. Three hits in the series for Martinez. Now, the way Zach's been pitching, I mean, you need to be that aggressive with a runner at second base?
Well, no, I think they saw some daylight and they probably put a play on. But the big thing is you got to make a strike throw to the bag. And when you throw it away, it looks like a bad play. But if you execute it right, it's really a good play.
Now the infield comes in a couple more steps with the 2-1 to Martinez. Well, the Royals did this in the exact same situation in the first game of the series. Cabrera doubled. Sizemore flied to center, which got him to third. And with Cabrera at third and 1 out, the Royals brought the infield in, and Martinez just flicked it into left field.
Well, when you think it's going to be a low-scoring game, most times you play your infielders back and just keep it to that 1 run. Anytime you bring the infield in, it just increases the possibility of having another base runner.
Martinez was hit, but he swung, so he's out. Olivo tags him out. And so far, no argument from the Indians. I don't think there was any question that he went around. So if you're hit by a pitch and you swing, it doesn't matter.
Well, we talked about Zach's arm angle on that slider, and it looks just like a fastball coming on the inner half, but Martinez didn't recognize it. When he recognized it, he'd already swung through it, and yet he couldn't get out of the way of the ball. So very rarely you see a guy take a swing and get hit with the same pitch.
So 66 strikeouts for Zach, second most in the American League, and now Shin-Soo Choo with a runner at third, 2 down. Cleveland Indians, more than any team this year, made Zach earn the victory. He beat the Indians here at Kauffman Stadium on a cold night on April the 13th. But only went 5 innings and threw over 100 pitches. Very late on the fastball, 1-1 on Choo.
Well, this is what you call driving a fastball down to the zone here. And if he continues to do that, then this is going to be a long day for the Indians. That's a perfect pitch right there.
And now Zach's ahead of ball and 2 strikes. Zach really had that slider working for him against the Indians that cold April night. 5 shutout innings, but 9 strikeouts. That's probably the most sliders he's thrown in one start in his entire big league career.
I think he went a total of maybe 7 or 8 in a row at one point. He had lost control of his fastball, and that was a pitch he could command.
And blows away Choo and gets out of a runner at third and 1 away. So Mitch Meyer will play in center field and will hit 8th. And now Kia gives us a little closer look at right-hander Carl Pavano.
Well, Carl is the guy that's going to try to pound the strike zone with his sinker. Mainly his sinker's his pitch, and change speeds on both sides, but has trouble with opponents second time through the lineup, so that's one area the Royals need to pay attention to today.
It's been overcast, a very light overcast, but in the last few moments the sun peeked out. So as Drupal Cabrera wants to get a set of sunglasses from the dugout, and he's got the old-fashioned flip shades.
Those are the best ones.
So David leading off, where he has spent most of his Royals career, batting 7th and 8th in the first 2 games of this series. 2 hits, 2 RBIs, big game tying triple, and Tuesday's come from behind victory. And then he scored the winning run on Willie Bloomquist's sac fly. David slowly but surely pulling it together. A 5-game hitting streak coming in today. And the distinct strike call of home plate umpire Jim Joyce. And David talks about batting leadoff again today.
I haven't been there in a long time, but you know, I think it's in me. Just go out there, see some pitches, you know, try and show the rest of the guys on the team what the pitcher has, and you know, it's one of the things that after the first pitch, you know, I'll be all right with it.
It's only the second game this year he's batted leadoff. The Royals won the last time he hit leadoff. On the inside corner with some late movement. So Pavano opens his outing with a strikeout. Here are the Indians defensively. Mark DeRosa back out in left field again with Ben Francisco and Shin-Soo Choo. Johnny Peralta at third with Asdrubal Cabrera, Luis Valbuena, and Victor Martinez at first. Kelly Shopik behind the plate where he was on Tuesday night. And now it's 0-1 on Alberto Callaspo. 2 hits, 2 walks, a run scored in the Tuesday and Wednesday games. That .338 average is the 7th best in the American League. And it's 0-2. So Pavano coming out throwing strikes. Took the loss on Saturday at Tampa Bay. He had won 3 starts in a row. Gave up 3 runs in 5 innings. Tampa Bay winning 4-2. Hammered into right center field. Nobody there. Choo cuts it off before it gets to the tracks. That'll hold Callaspo to a 1-out double. His 16th of the year.
Pavano's been throwing that fastball inside the lefties, and the one he struck David DeJesus out and make you come back to catch the inside corner, but it didn't work as well for Callaspo right here. He stayed on it and drove the ball into right center field. He makes a great turn at first base and kind of cruises into second base. That's an easy double right there. Then he gets to the wall. It's really not just going to be a double. It's really not going to be a triple after that.
And that makes a big difference with 1 away. Turn that into a triple. Now you have a runner at third with less than 2 outs. So Callaspo still second to Evan Longoria in doubles as Butler takes strike 1. And who knows, maybe Billy won over that new fan with the way he's been hitting lately in the number 3 position. Got his average up to .284. That one is high and away. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, when the fans start making signs with your name on it, that means you're doing something pretty special on the field.
Billy was 2 out of 3 against Pavano. The Royals beat him in April. Shopik can't stop it, so there's your runner at third with less than 2 outs. That essentially turns Callaspo's double into a triple.
That's true right here. The ball just got away from him, held on to it too long, just drove it right in the ground, and Shopik did everything he could to keep it in front of him, but went off his right side.
The Indians know what they have in front of them today, so they're going to bring the infield in. Every run allowed is precious with Greinke pitching for KC, and Butler into left center. It's deep. Back goes DeRosa. It is off the wall. Butler drives in Cayaspo with a double.
So Billy does a great job of picking up this splitter, and it just ran right back out over the plate, and he stayed right on it. Kept his head down, got through the ball well. And the way he looked at it, he said he probably felt he got enough to be out of the ballpark, but didn't carry quite that far. But they did a great job putting a good swing on that off-speed pitch.
20 RBIs for Billy. That gets us to Mike Jacobs. Jake hit his 9th home run on Tuesday night in that 4-run bottom of the 9th inning rally. He has scored 3 times in the series. One and one. All 9 of his home runs coming against right-hand pitching. Really trying to pitch him up and pitch him inside, and it's 2-1.
Well, doesn't want to make a mistake here to Jacobs with a right-handed hitter coming up next, so they're going to pitch him pretty careful with first base open.
Not much room on the right side with Cabrera, Valbuena, and Martinez. And all by himself on the left side is Peralta. A little ground ball to the left side of second base would score a run. And Jake looked like he was taking a shot that way. It's 2-2. With 1 out, Cayaspo doubled, went to third on a wild pitch, and then Billy Butler got Cayaspo to the plate with his double. Again, pounding him inside. It's 3-2.
That's pretty obvious. He doesn't want to throw him a good strike here with the base open. I think he's just going to stay up out over the plate to the outer half, or come in off the plate where he can't swing the bat.
Out of play. Royals need a win today to have a winning homestand. If they fail to win today, it's a losing homestand and a painful one, because the Royals playing 7 games against 2 last place clubs. Coming into this series, you figured Royals had a chance to pad their win-loss record. Foul outside of first after that 0-5 road trip through Anaheim and Oakland. Then they lost the first game of the homestand to the Orioles, so they had lost 6 in a row, but finished with a 4-game split with the O's. 1 on Tuesday, getting 4 in the bottom of the 9th, and then came up short last night. They had the bases loaded 1 out in the 9th against Kerry Wood, but Wood struck out Tien and DeJesus to win the game. Jacobs strikes out. That's Pavano's 2nd in the inning, and brings up Jose Guillen. Six-game hitting streak for Guillen, and just a couple of ticks below 300 with his batting average now. 4 hits, 3 RBIs in this series. Butler down at second with 2 outs. A little high. And his average that close to 300 because of this homestand. 9 out of 21 with 7 driven in against Baltimore and Cleveland. One and one.
I think the one thing he's done well is he's really used the whole field. He's taken the all-speed pitches and he's pulled them for base hits. The guys who you think are overpowering with 2 strikes, he's taken that ball and hitting it up the middle of the right field. And the right-handed hitter that continues to go the opposite way, and that, to me, that's the big reason his average is starting to climb.
Had a big 2-out 2-run double last night to right center field. And Pavano dropping down, and Guillen behind 1 ball 2 strikes.
That's a little slaughter hit that he just, they could even call it a cutter if you want, but it just right to the outside corner with some depth to it. And Jose chased it, but he can also make an adjustment on the very next pitch. And you think throw the same pitch, he can put the bat on the ball.
And the same pitch is pulled into left field. Butler's going to be waved home, and DeRosa's throw will be late. So Guillen drives in his 4th of the series. Royals lead 2-0.
Well, again, Pavano came back with the same pitch, but he left this a little bit on the plate, and Jose made an adjustment to it and got a base hit to left field to drive in Bullet from second base. You can see Butler really running hard with 2 outs. They're going to try to score him, and DeRosa not being an outfielder, they're going to make him try to throw him out at the plate.
And now Mark Tien. It's a 26 pitch inning for Pavano, which is a high number for any pitcher, but for him, that's noteworthy because in his first 8 starts, he's only averaging 84 pitches per start. So he is not going deep in regard to his pitch count. And we've been telling you all series about the troubles the Indians have had this year with their bullpen, and we've seen it firsthand. So Pavano, not a guy that looks like he's going to go 100 to 120 pitches. He might be out 80 to 90 pitches, and he's used up 27 of them in the first inning.
Well, the key of his scouting reports, so the second time through, that the league is hitting like 385 against him. So that might be the reason he's getting stuck right there in that 80 pitch range.
Tien pulls it to Valbuena, who throws him out. The Royals come up with 2 doubles and a single. Iasco gets it started with his 16th double. Butler gets him home with his double, and Guillen scoring Butler with 2 outs. Ryan Lefevre with Frank White, and the third member of our crew is Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, there's been so much buzz about Zach Greinke. It seems like every 5 days in Kansas City, people are talking about it being a Greinke day, or as Mike Swanson, vice president for the Royals, said today, a lot of people called it he flew. But as far as the Royals players go, I've been talking to them, talked to David DeJesus today, and he said they don't really get up anymore for Zach over any other pitcher. I mean, they still have a job to go out there and do it. They're not to a point where they're so amazed. Maybe they're getting used to it a little bit, but he said that, if anything, the good news when Greinke is pitching is that he knows that they're not going to have to do as much in the field. He's going to strike out a lot of guys, and the innings are a lot quicker.
Well, in the first inning, he got around a runner at third and one out, thanks to strikeouts of Martinez and Chu. And he jumps ahead quickly of Johnny Peralta, who has struck out 39 times already this year. Greinke gave up a single to Cabrera. Sizemore bunted him to second. Olivo tried to pick him off at second base and threw it into center. Cabrera to third. It didn't come home. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Peralta, DeRosa, and Francisco in the second inning. Butler backhands way off the line, and Greinke to the bag in time. The Royals had Peralta played perfectly. So 1 down, and here's today's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers, and all the Zach Greinke rankings, where he is atop the American League. ERA, opponent's batting average, opponent's on base percentage, slugging percentage, complete games, shutouts. He has not allowed a home run in 61 1/3 innings this year, 89 1/3 innings going back to last year. DeRosa fouls it away. And to put that into perspective, if you just take this year alone, nobody besides Zach has gone longer than 28 innings without giving up a home run. He's gone 61 1/3. 1-1 on DeRosa.
Well, he's been doing an excellent job keeping the ball down and out of the middle of the plate. And I think that's where it starts. He pitches the corners very well. He changes speeds very well. But mainly when he makes mistakes, they're down and off the corners.
You know, maybe I'm making too much of this, but just watching him in between pitches, just a look on his face. He just seems to be so much more focused. And he talked about that last year. You know, one of the, this turn for Zach Greinke for the better began at the end of last year with his 4-1 September. 1 hop to Aviles and 2 down. And one thing that Zach pointed to was he learned the importance, not focusing every start, not focusing every inning, but focusing on every single pitch.
Well, what he wants to do there is he wants to make sure the pitch out throw is setting up another pitch, and whether just going out there and just trying to go through your whole repertoire to each hitter, he's realizing what he can throw to certain guys and staying with it. And then when he has to make a change, like with left-handers, when you go back to Martinez, he throws that hard slider down underneath and got a strikeout that way. Then he goes to 2 strikes on Chu, and he's looking for that slider down. Then he throws the fastball down the middle for a strikeout. So he's really playing the game, and he's changing things when he needs to change them. And I see that being the big difference.
Deep into the left field corner, and Ben Francisco hits the top of the wall. It stays in. So he nearly ended the streak. No surprise it's Francisco, the way he has swung the bat against the Royals this year. Eric Wedge thinks that the ball was out. He's going to talk this over with Darryl Cousins.
Well, Ben Francisco, we know ball middle in, he can really turn on it. He's got some quick hands, and he really got this one up, and we're going to see where that one's going to hit on the wall. Like it went right into David's glove and hit the top of the padding and came back off.
Now, in some ballparks, the so-called screen or the fence behind the wall is a home run, but not here. Here you have to get it over the padded wall and that chain link fence.
Well, David jumped as high as he could jump, and the ball just got over his glove by a couple of inches.
So it's a triple. And the second straight inning, the Indians have had a runner at third base. Shopik. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hit a 2-run home run on Tuesday to help the Indians build that 3-run lead, which the Royals erased in the bottom of the 9th. That pitch is so hard to pick up, and I would imagine even harder on a bright day game.
You see here, it looks like a fastball, and it's got that late break, and when the hitters realize it's not a fastball, they pretty much already committed.
Well, that's what he did to Shin-Soo Choo. Tried to set the hitter up, thinking slider. Coming back with the fastball. It's 2-2 on Shopik. Ben Francisco with a 2-out triple. Nasty pitch, didn't get much on the swing, and Avila's throw barely got it. By Sprint. What's your favorite Zach start at the new K this year? Complete game win against the Tigers back on April the 24th. That was the error by Mike Aviles that snapped the string of runs allowed. Then the win against Toronto, they scored 2. That snapped the streak of earned runs allowed. Then the shutout of the White Sox here on May the 4th, or the 8-1 win over the O's last Friday, which snapped the 6-game losing streak. So there are your choices. Text 432-432. Enter keyword Royals followed by a space and your answer. Standard text rates apply. Miguel Olivo leads off against Carl Pavano. Chasing one at eye level, and Miggy walks out of the box in frustration. 1 for 3 with a walk, an enormous walk. In the game on Tuesday, that was right in the middle of that 4-run rally in the 9th. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, to me, that was the turning point for me that inning. That's when I realized the Royals had a chance to win this game. When he just 3-1 count, when he should be looking to drive the ball out of the ballpark, he just put the bat on his shoulder, says, well, you got to throw me a strike. And that really kept that inning going, and that showed the patience that it took to come back and win that game.
And he said the next day, Frank, or at least the comments coming out the next day, that he realized that everyone throws him a slider on 3-1. So he's starting to take some inventory on what teams are trying to do against him. Didn't mean to go around. Shopik is going to stand there and hope that it ends up fair. It does not. Still 1-2.
Well, the biggest thing was that they were throwing him sliders, but he wasn't making those pitches be strikes. He was chasing them in the dirt off the plate, and I think that's a good approach from him. You're going to see the ball better, but you still have to be ready to hit the strike, though. That's the key. I don't think you want to give every 3-1 pitch away because they're going to throw you a slider. You just got to make sure it's a strike when you swing at it.
And there's a hard slider. Pavano punches out his third. One down in the bottom of the second inning. Fox Sports Kansas City is on Facebook. And today, for every strikeout Zach Greinke records, we're going to give away a Royals jersey to one of our Facebook fans. Zach strikes out 10. We'll give away 10 jerseys. We'll draw the winners and post the winning names on Facebook. There's Joe Posnanski of the Kansas City Star, who tweets. I'm starting to learn the terminology now. A couple weeks ago, I'd have said, who twitters. Mitch Meyer drives it to center. Francisco changed directions about 3 different times, but runs it down. 2 down in the second inning, and now Mike Aviles, who had to make a good play to throw out Kelly Shopik to end the top of the second.
Well, that's always a very difficult play for a shortstop, and Mike had to come in a long way to get that ball, and he really set himself and made a strong throw. But like any play, it takes the right guy running to make a great play. And Shopik being the catcher, that took a couple steps away from him right there.
Oh, 1 to Aviles. Returned to the lineup last night after missing 4 games. 1 for 4 with a run, and now he tries to bloop one up the right field line. Shin Soo Choo won't get there, but it's foul.
I tell you, when you're trying to get your average going the right way, you can take all the hits like that you can get until you get your swing back. And I know Mike would have really loved to have that hit. He doesn't care what kind of hit he gets right now. He just wants a base hit.
Kevin Seitzer has referred to guys like that a few times this year as guy just needs to find some green, find some open spaces on that grass, line drive or otherwise. And Pavano, after throwing 28 pitches in the first, has a 1-2-3 second. Royals leading 2-0. Here's the Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison from the first 2 innings. Zach has hit 96. Carl Pavano at 94, which is high for him. Now fast is even faster. Double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Zach has struck out 2. Twice he's had to pitch around a runner at third base. 0-1 to Luis Valbuena. Cabrera in the first was at third with 1 out, but Zach struck out Martinez at Chu. And then in the second inning, Francisco at third with 2 down. Kelly Shopik grounded out to short. Luis Valbuena 1 out of 4 on Tuesday. Had that collision with Miguel Olivo and still has a little bandage underneath his lip. Valbuena and Olivo were once in the same organization together.
And when they were with the Mariners, you know, they were actually roomed together. So that just goes to show that in the game of baseball, when the game is going on, you know, you're trying to win the ball game, and you can go to dinner after the ball game.
But not during the game.
Not during the game, nope.
And every major league hitter will gladly trade a broken bat for a base hit. And the leadoff man is on for the second time in 3 innings against Greinke, and now back to the top of the order. As Drupal Cabrera opened the game with a single to right, bunted to second, went to third on an error by Olivo, and was there with 1 out, but never scored. Greinke's last start was a win. It was after a 2-hour 30-minute rain delay. Royals with a sellout crowd, and a large percentage of those fans waited through the rain delay and waited till the game was over. Game that ended after midnight, and Zach afterwards reflecting, saying he tried to blow everyone away in the first 3 innings. Ended up going 7, allowing 1 run, 6 hits, but didn't quite look like himself in the first 3 innings, but then pulled it together and had another strong outing. But you and I had pointed out during the game that it seemed very clear that the Baltimore Orioles were just trying to take short, compact swings against Greinke and use the middle and opposite field.
They just wanted to stay in there and not try to overswing. A guy throwing 96 miles an hour, and you try to overswing, it just speeds his ball up a little bit more. And just try to get him in more of a hitting count where you can kind of take some of his pitches away and try to center him where you can take a better swing at him and get away from the 2-strike approach, and where you can actually do some damage and drive the ball.
3-1. Three balls, 2 strikes. Missouri Valley Baseball Tournament beginning on Saturday night from Tyler Field in Wichita. Eric Wedge is from Indiana, but he went to Wichita State and was part of the Shockers 1989 College World Series champion team, drafted by the Boston Red Sox. Runner goes, and Cabrera fouls it away.
Well, Cabrera has a real nice, short, quick stroke, so you can see how he can get on a good fastball. And also Zach, with that hard slider, it's a strikeout pitch. He's got to be careful here that if he does throw it, Miguel's got to be able to block it because the runner is running on the pitch.
Indians will run. Their offense hasn't really lived up to expectations yet, but they're 4th in the league in stolen bases, and Valbuena runs again. Meyer fades back and has a play in center field. So 1 on 1 out, and Grady Sizemore coming up. Laid down a sacrifice bunt in the first inning. Still in the middle of an 0 for 17, but there's a little history between these two guys. Grady Sizemore hit his first major league home run against Zach Greinke when he had first come up with the Indians. That was back in 2004. It was also Zach's first year in the big leagues. And then the next year, Grady Sizemore hit his first major league grand slam against Zach. This could be one of those matchups if Greinke stays with the Royals as long as we all hope, and Sizemore continues to be as good as he has been. He's struggling this year. This could be one of those deals where 10-12 years from now you're looking at a couple of guys who have faced each other 150 times. Sizemore into shallow right center. That's going to drop. So he snaps the 0 for 17, and Valbuena goes first to third.
Now this is what's called making the pitch that you really want to make. He got in on his hands and basically just pushed it out in the right field. No, Valbuena running. He looked like he was going to run. He stopped. And he really got jammed right here and just really dunked it out in the right center field. You can see where Zach really makes a good pitch right here. Ball got in, hit way above the trademark. And that's a good indication that maybe Sizemore, some of his problems, just getting too long in his swing.
Well, the last time Zach faced Victor Martinez, it was with a runner at third and less than 2 outs. Zach hit Martinez with the pitch, but it broke so hard and so late that Martinez swung at it and struck out. Hit hard past Callaspo, and the Indians are on the board. Sizemore is going to go first to third. Guillen's throw comes in high and offline, but Martinez does not advance, so it's 2-1. Martinez drives in his 28th of the year.
Let's give you a good idea how fast this bat is right here. This pitch was 96 miles an hour down, and Martinez really turned on it, and the ball is by Casper before he can barely move. Jose comes up and makes a hot throw. And fortunate that Martinez wasn't running hard to first base and didn't try to go into second base on that throw.
That keeps the double play in order. Shin-Soo Choo also struck out against Zach in the first inning. The riding fastball is low. Three singles and a run home for the Indians here in the third inning, and now Levo wants to go out and talk to Zach. Well, this start for Zach against the Indians isn't a whole lot different than the one against Cleveland back on April the 13th. Difference so far is that the Indians have scored a run, but Zach was in trouble all night, and now the game is tied. So Choo singles to the opposite field, and that gets Sizemore to the plate. Still 2 on 1 out. The difference back in April is that Zach was able to pitch out of trouble, striking out 9 in 5 innings.
Well, Zach does everything that Miguel Oliva wants him to do right here. He hit the mid and Shooters did a great job staying with that pitch and hitting it through the hole.
Well, this gets us back to how good Zach has been this year. This ties a season high for runs allowed in a start, and it's only the second time all year he's given up more than 1 run. We asked you earlier on You Call It, presented by Sprint, your favorite Zach start at Kauffman Stadium, and 55% going with that shutout against the White Sox, 28% the complete game against the Tigers. And after he allowed that unearned run against the Tigers, he seemed to take his game to another level. The Tigers had no chance after that. Johnny Peralta hit a hard ground ball for an out to Butler in the second inning. Now you can hear Miguel Olivo yelling out to Greinke, come on. The slider had stayed up, but taken for a strike.
I think Miguel really wants to get him back into focus. A lot of times you get a situation where your pitcher's not hitting the spots, and you're just trying to say, hey, let's go, let's try to get him pepped up. But really the one area that I see where he's been really inconsistent at is on his fastballs on the outer half down, and his hard slider to right-handed hitters down. I mean, those are the two pitches right now I think it's really frustrating him.
Royals with 2 in the bottom of the first. Indians with 2 here in the top of the third. And Zach's first walk, and now they're loaded up for Mark DeRosa.
So you can see how that fastball, he's trying to drive it to the outside part of the plate, but it just keeps going down and off the plate. And he's so used to throwing that slider down and under the left-handed hitter's swing, and most times it is in off the plate. So just getting that slider to be there for a right-handed hitter, but on the plate where he can chase it. So to me, that's the area that I think right now is a concern, is just right-handed hitters on the outer half.
DeRosa grounded out to short in the second inning. So 6 have come to the plate in this third inning. 5 have reached. No one's hit an extra base hit yet. There's a good slider. 4 singles and a walk. Martinez and Chu singling home runs. One ball, one strike. One and two. Zach a few times this year, and there hasn't been many moments like this because he's been so good, but he will get mad at himself, and rather than become unraveled like most major league players, he's able to channel that and take it to another level.
Well, that last slider is where he really wants to be with the right-handers. The first one to DeRosa really was one he overthrew and stayed in the middle of the plate. Then he went down off the plate, and then he came back to the one that he really wanted. And I think his mound composure is just awesome to watch, because you don't know what's going on inside of his head. So he's got that competitive nature inside of his body.
Slider that wasn't even close. So DeRosa strikes out. Zach's third. 2 down in the third inning.
See, that's the pitch right there, Ryan, that that he's really trying to control a little bit better against right-handed hitters. That one really hitting the dirt on the outside part of the plate. DeRosa still swung at him. And really they all set up by the other sliders that was thrown previous. So it just, that arm angle, the release point, before they realize what it is, they've already swung at it.
It's about as hard as he's had to work all year. And Francisco takes the slider for a strike. It appears that Zach's way of dealing with controlling his sliders is to keep throwing it in succession in this inning until he finds the arm slot.
Well, he can make that switch. If he's not spotting his fastball, he'll go right to his slider. We've seen him do that before.
Francisco tripled his first time up. Just missed a home run into the left field corner. He had been 0 for 7 against Zach Greinke.
Well, most of the pitches so far has been away. He hasn't really attacked inside with his fastball to this point. Everything's pretty much been on the outer half of the plate. And you give yourself a small window to pitch to when you do that.
Well, he's slowly but surely finding that arm slot. This has become a ritual at Kauffman Stadium this year. 2 strikes, 2 outs, the fans cheering on a strikeout, and Zach comes through. But the Indians score 2 and we're tied. To end the Korean War, spending time as a POW in a German prison camp today. The Independence, Missouri resident continues to serve the community, sharing his experiences to bring history to life while also volunteering at the 1859 jail in Independence. He's going to turn 91 this summer. So welcome, Jake, sitting in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat at today's game. And fans, don't forget to nominate others who make a difference in our community for the All-Stars Among Us promotion. Sending one worthy Royals fan to St. Louis for the 2009 All-Star Game. Fans can visit Royals.com/community to submit nominations. So a tie game, and David DeJesus begins the bottom of the third with a drive into left center field. He is 1 for 2.
This is when David's really swinging the bat well. He gets a fastball out over the plate and just stays behind it and drives it in the left. We've seen that swing a lot of times last year, and when he's swinging good, that's David DeJesus right there.
So David has hit in 6 straight. And now Alberto Callaspo. Callaspo got the Royals rally started in the first with a 1-out double. Scored on Butler's double. And then Butler scored on Guillen's single.
With Pavano being around the plate, this is a good opportunity for Trey Hillman if he chooses to hit and run. You got a contact hitter and the guy that runs the base is pretty good in David DeJesus, but not a straight out steal guy. So this is a good combination at the plate and on the bases right now.
Callaspo was not thrilled at first about batting second because he's an aggressive hitter. He doesn't like to take a lot of pitches. He's very difficult to strike out because he has good hand-eye coordination, but also because he doesn't like to go deep into the count unless he has to. David's running. Callaspo fouls it off of Shopping. But Trey Hillman saying before the game today that he really had to sell Callaspo on batting second and explaining to him, hey, I'm not asking you to go up there and take pitches. Now, Coco Crisp was at first base. You might take a few, give him a chance to steal second base. But Trey said, hey, I just want you to bat second because of the way you're hitting. I want you to change anything.
Well, if Alberto thought about it, if Coco's on first base, he's going to get more fastballs to hit. Even if he goes deep in the count, he's still going to get a better pitch to hit than he would be if he's batting 7th and 8th. So I think it's a great opportunity for him to really get some experience in trying to hit second and try to learn how to be patient, and you will get good pitches to hit.
Shallow left. Arosa runs up to get it. David at first with 1 out. Hey fans, the next Hy-Vee Pepsi Fireworks is coming up on Friday, May the 29th. The Chicago White Sox will be in town. It's a 7:10 game. Fireworks after the game. 1-800-6-ROYALS, Royals.com. Kauffman Stadium box offices or area Hy-Vee food stores. Speaking of the White Sox, they have a deal in place right now with the San Diego Padres to acquire Jake Peavy. Peavy has to approve it. He's a 10-5 player, 10 years in the big leagues, 5 with the same team. And right now, some of the analysts around that deal think that Peavy may not accept the trade, which would be good news for everyone in the American League and specifically the American League Central.
Well, the White Sox could use him today. They're down 9-0 in the third, so he would have been a good addition to have on the mound today.
Billy hit his 13th double, driving in a run and scoring back in the first. Double to left center.
Well, that would be an outstanding deal for the White Sox if they're able to pull that off. They see how tight this division is going to be most of the year, and you can put a guy like Jake Peavy with Burley and Danks. I mean, that's 3 pretty good starters right there.
Gavin Floyd.
So you'd have 4 quality starters going every day, and that'll get you well in a hurry.
Coming in today, the White Sox are 7th in the league in ERA, 5 games under 500. 1-2 on Butler.
In the first inning, Billy did a good job getting a changeup out over the plate and driving it off the left center field wall. I think the third spot's really been kind to Billy. I mean, ever since he moved into the third spot, it seemed like everything just sort of fell in place for him, and he's getting all types of hits. Right center, left center, home runs, working deep counts.
DeJesus running, and the pitch gets away from Shopping. David went into a head-first slide, so one of those runners who doesn't like to take a peek in. I don't know if David could have gone first to third, but no chance after the slide, and David swipes his first of the year.
Well, he gets a real good jump, and he did take a quick peek, but he probably didn't see the ball get by the catcher. Usually you take that peek after about the third step, and you can kind of see where what else is going on around home plate area.
So he took a look, just didn't look long enough. 3-2 on Billy. He's going to step out now and think about this 3-2 pitch from Pavano. Indians just tied it with 2 in the top of the third, and now the Royals trying to get back out in front of the bottom half. Butler strikes out. That's 5 for Pavano. Pavano struck out 8 when he took the loss against the Royals back in April. That was in 6 innings.
But he just puts a real nice slider in a good spot on the outer half and down. That ball just really dropped right off the table.
Brings up Mike Jacobs, who struck out on a fastball in the first. So Pavano this year in 8 2/3 innings against the Royals has struck out 13. Hasn't necessarily been a strikeout pitcher this year, but he has been against the Royals. Changeup over the outside.
I don't know, Pavano's changeup is really almost acting like a sinker. It's really turning over and going down. A lot of changeups are, when you use that 3-finger grip, they kind of run down and away, but his is actually just turning over just like it would be a sinker.
Johnny Peralta all by himself on defense on the left side. And now Jacobs is down, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jacobs has faced Pavano 4 times this year. 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. A little bit outside, 2-2. DeJesus, a leadoff single with 1 out, stole second. And still standing there with 2 down. Batting in the leadoff spot today for just the 2nd time this year. Hit hard, screened by the umpire. The ball gets past Cabrera, and the Royals have regained the lead. Thank you very much, Bill Miller. Been practicing that since spring training.
Well, you always want to tell that umpire to move if you don't have good vision, but you see where the umpire is in relation to Balbuena at second base, and watch where the ball goes and watch which way the umpire goes. That's why it's really important when you're a middle infielder and the umpire, you really got to have a clear vision so you can ask him to move 2 or 3 steps left or right. But when you put him only 1 step off your left shoulder, then that's going to put you in harm's way in terms of being able to see the ball all the way from the bat.
Now 1-0 on Guillen. He singled home a run in the first inning. The Royals come right back after the Indians tied it in the top half of the inning. Ooh! Guillen takes one off the helmet. Pitch was 91 miles an hour. It appeared to hit his shoulder first.
Yeah, as a hitter with the count 2-0, that's one area you don't expect the ball. You expect the ball out over the plate. And here's Jose. He sees the ball moving in on him, hits the top of the shoulder and hits the tip of the helmet and knocks it up. So he's pretty fortunate right there.
Now when it comes in at regular speed, well, it sure looked a lot worse than that side angle, which more than anything may have just frightened Guillen.
Well, it was a two-seamer like running in on him, trying to get in on his hands. But the good thing that Jose did right there, what you should do as a hitter, you turn your head away from the pitch. And if he goes any other direction, then he's probably hitting the face with that ball. But the hitters are taught to turn the head and shoulder away so the ball will glance off the shoulder and not catch you flush on the face. But too many hitters kind of face the pitcher on that pitch, and those are the guys that get hit.
Kelly Shoppig did a smart thing. Carl Pavano started to walk in from the mound because he was concerned about Guillen, and Shoppig intercepted him about halfway and walked him back to the mound and just talked to him the whole time, trying to make sure that he stays focused. Because a lot of times in a situation like this, a pitcher becomes a little gun shy and the inning can get away from him in a hurry.
Well, that's true too. I mean, a 2-0 count is obvious. He wasn't trying to hit Jose right there, but then again, you don't want him down around home plate because you never know what the batter's thinking. But you also, like you said, it's mainly about keeping his focus and keeping him on task.
So run home on a Jacobs single, and now Guillen at first. Martin rolled out to second base in the first inning. 2-1. Get the feeling Shoppig was saying, and it wasn't serious. I think Shoppig knew right away that Guillen was okay, but he's telling him, don't look. Let's talk about the next hitter. 3-1. I still to this day think that the turning point in Blake Stein's career as a pitcher for the Royals was when he hit Juan Encarnacion in the face at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, I agree with that. After that night, he would never go back inside again, and I think it took a lot away from his effectiveness as a pitcher.
And a walk after the hit batter, and they're loaded up for Olivo. Carl Willis going to go out and have a chat with Carl Pavano. Well, after this game in this series, the Royals will be going to the other side of the state, and part one of the I-70 series with the Cardinals begins tomorrow. Coverage begins at 6:30 with Royals Live. First pitch is at 7:15. And tomorrow's game is in HD. The triumphant return to St. Louis for Joel Goldberg. They've got a big parade scheduled. And this is not official, but there's some talk about an unveiling of a statue.
They'll be celebrating that 10-year anniversary.
Miguel Olivo struck out in the second inning. Bases loaded, 2 down. And he was behind in the count in his first at bat after chasing a pitch just like that.
But the one thing about swinging that ball's up, you have to change the swing plane of your bat to get on top of it. So if the ball is up when you're swinging up, then you will never hit that pitch.
Jacobs at third, Guillen at second, Tien at first. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Royals are leading 3-2, and they're also winning the pitch count game with Carl Pavano. We told you earlier that Pavano is only on average going about 84 pitches per start. Right now he is at 63. He's running out of bullets. Olivo has yet to swing at a strike yet.
Yeah, this is a changeup here that's just way off the plate.
So the Royals have regained the lead, but they're inching closer and closer to getting into the Indians bullpen very early in this game. Chase the fastball up. It's still 1-2. Jacob's single scored to Jesus. Guillen hit by a pitch. Tien walked. Out in front of the mound. And Pavano throws out Olivos. The Royals leave the bases loaded, but they regain the lead on the Jacobs single. And by AT&T, switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. So Zach has the lead for the second time today. The Royals with 2 in the first, and Zach had a 2-0 lead until giving up 2 in the third. And now the Royals getting the lead back. Kelly Shopik leads off, fouls off a curveball. Shopik grounded out in the second inning. Mike Aviles making a nice play, charging in on the infield grass to throw him out, and that was with a runner at third. So that ended the inning and prevented a run from scoring. The Indians have 6 hits in the first 3 innings against Zach. 1 ball, 1 strike. The 2 runs in the third. Coming on RBI singles from Martinez and Chu. But they left the bases loaded as Zach struck out DeRosa and Francisco. Timeout was called as Jim Joyce almost walked all the way over to the first base dugout.
He gave the impression he was mad at somebody in the Royals dugout.
That's exactly what I thought. What did somebody say in the dugout? I mean, it's one thing to take your mask off and look over the dugouts. Another thing just to walk over there. You got a problem? Fifth strikeout for Zach. And he has struck out the last 3. Going back to the third inning.
This is the area that Zach's been trying to find, is that slide on the outside corner and that fastball command. He had it there on that pitch. Then he comes right back with the slider. So it didn't take him long to make that adjustment.
Now Valbuena, who singled leading off the third inning and scored. Showing bunt. And then thought about taking a rip at it. The Indians batted 8 in the third inning, but only scored 2 because All 4 hits were singles. Zach has had games this year where you got the feeling the lineup had no chance. I mean, 0 chance. And then there have been games where the lineup maybe has 1 chance. And if you don't really get to him and he has a chance to sit down and think about it, talk about it with the pitching coach and the catcher, he gets back into that no chance category.
Well, right now he's found the corners. He's back doing his curveball to the lefties, and he's finding the fastball and the curve and the slider on the outside corner to the right-hander. So
now he strikes out his 6th on a swing that might qualify for the list.
That's on the list. Yeah.
Here's the Firestone leaderboard for today. And Major League ERA leaders, that is updated. Zach with a .6 coming in today. Speaking of home run droughts, saw that Wandy Rodriguez, who was on that list, gave up a home run to the Brewers yesterday, pitching for the Astros. He had gone over 88 innings without allowing a home run. 15 starts. Mike Cameron took him deep. Two and one on Cabrera. A single and a fly out to center field. Zach now has gone 91 2/3 innings without allowing a home run. As Drupal Cabrera with another hit. Think the Seattle Mariners would like to have him back?
I think so. He's got such a nice short stroke. As a fastball that's running away from him, he just tracked it right back through the middle, and that to me, that's just being under control, have a nice swing, not trying to do too much, and just meeting the ball at the right spot and just getting your base hit right there.
And now Sizemore, who's feeling like a brand new guy after singling in the 3rd inning. He had been 0 for his last 17. Came around to score a run. Still the DH with the sore left elbow, and he has the luxury of being the DH as Travis Hafner is on the disabled list, having more problems with his right shoulder. 0-1 to Sizemore.
Well, Zach is really moving the ball around really well, and here's a running fastball that goes down, and you know, normally on the inner half that's a good pitch to a left-hander, but that ball right there, you can only foul it off. You can't keep that ball fair. And he's really driving the ball to the bottom of the strike zone.
Cabrera started to go stop. Well, that's a good throw.
Well, when you have a strong arm, you can make a throw like that. You don't have time to wait to see if he kept going or not. You just let it go.
Cabrera not running, and now it's 2-1. It looked like Zach kind of rushed his delivery there, and the pitch was high, so maybe Cabrera caught his attention. Cabrera 6 for 6 in stolen base attempts. Not running. And really overpowered Sizemore with that fastball. 2-2. And again, with 2 strikes and 2 outs, some of the fans starting to stand and cheer Zach on to another inning strikeout. Cabrera runs, and the throw from Olivo is to the third base side. And just enough offline for Cabrera to swipe his 7th of the year. And now it's 3-2 on Sizemore.
Well, Cabrera gets a real good jump right here. Zach goes with the standard lead kick and not the quick pitch, but Olivo had a real tough pitch to handle here. There was a slider that's down and into the inside half, and Olivo, here he is right here. See, he had to backhand that ball down on the ground, take a couple steps back to clear a lane for himself, and that was just enough for Cabrera to be safe.
Now pickoff at second, and maybe a little better throw would have gotten Cabrera. Aviles did a nice job of keeping that ball from ending up in Mitch Meyer's glove.
Did a good job selling it, too. This man agrees with us.
That's what the 5th umpire thought. Fortunately, he didn't suit up today. Attaboy.
At a ball game, you have a lot of umpires at a ball game.
He is mowing down some topsies.
Looks pretty good.
With 2 outs and nobody on, Cabrera has singled and stole second base. Greinke began the inning by striking out Shopik and Valbuena. And now he walks Sizemore, so Zach is in trouble again. He has not had a 1-2-3 inning. And now you're going to have to get through arguably the league's best hitter this year. Here's the James B. Nutter and Company pitch count. 79 pitches. So he is 1 pitch away from a 20 pitch per inning average. So it could be a shorter outing for Zach today. That's his 2nd walk. And now Martinez takes a fastball at 96. Martinez struck out in the 1st inning on a pitch that actually hit his leg, but he swung at it. So a strikeout, and then in the 3rd inning swung at the 1st pitch and a sharp single to right, scoring Valbuena. Another thing that might suggest that Zach isn't quite Zach today, much slower tempo than his first 8 starts.
That could be a result of him just not being confident in his location and being able to hit his location. Wants to take a little more time and gather himself and put whatever he has to do into that one pitch. I mean, when Zach is on and his slider's working, that's how it works right there. The ball just kind of drops straight down, and it just being able to repeat that pitch, that's been the case right there.
Now even the umpires are cheering him on. Just got a piece, and I mean just. That guy's going to wear himself out.
Well, you see the difference in those sliders, Ryan. Most times he wants to try to get that slider down under the back leg, but right now he's leaving the slider in the middle of the plate. But the good thing is down, and that could be a case of maybe trying to overthrow it a little bit.
6 strikeouts so far, 2 in this inning. Martinez taking his time in between pitches. exactly where he and Oliva wanted it, but this time Martinez wouldn't go for it. Again, the slider down and in, so the count goes from 0-2 to 2-2.
Now that slider was identical to one that he swung at and hit him in the leg the first time he got him on a strikeout. But Martinez is showing a ton of discipline laying off those 2 sliders.
Who keeps track of this stuff? Hitting 143 on this count, below the league average of 191. On the corner. Hey, that guy got a ball. And there's our resident 5th umpire / Royals fan. I think ended up with a souvenir as Miguel Olivo was coming off the field. Underhanded a ball in his direction, who now has his rally cap on for the bottom of the 4th inning. Mitch Meyer is down quickly, no balls, 2 strikes. Mitch lined to center in the 2nd inning. Playing in center field today with Coco Crisp out of the lineup for just the 2nd time all year. And Mitch lines it to left field, putting bat on ball, down 0-2. Leadoff man on for the Royals in the 4th.
And not trying to do too much, he just stuck his bat out there and he got the ball between 3rd and short. That's a little running fastball going away, and he just kind of just stayed with it. His body was gone, but he kept his hands back and was able to get the bat head on the ball.
And now Mike Aviles struck out looking in the 2nd inning. Could lay down a bunt here to get Meyer to 2nd. Takes a pitch inside. Aviles 1 out of 5 in the 2 games since coming back after missing 4 in a row with that tight right forearm.
Well, Mitch really has the ability to steal his base if Trey puts him on his own to go. And with a lot of times when you're struggling as a hitter trying to get your average back up, this is a great time to sacrifice because you can help the team and not hurt your average at the same time. And you can also put a hit and run on, which can open up a hole and with the possibilities of getting the base hit that way. So there's three options there that the Royals can go if they choose to go in any of those directions.
Well, the Indians didn't look like they were expecting a bunt, but they were ready for it with Peralta in at third. And then when Aviles didn't bunt, Peralta moved back a few steps on the left side, and now Pavano throwing over there, so maybe they're suspecting a hit and run. And here it comes. Swung on and missed, and Meyer is out.
On a hit and run, this is a changeup right here, and Mike just got out in front of it. This is where you got to stay back and cut your swing down and try to put the ball in play if indeed that was a hit and run.
Mike Aviles' feet are really all over the plate. He does not look comfortable in the batter's box.
Well, normally when you put a hit and run on, that really kind of settles the hitter down, and he's not really trying to drive the ball in the alley. You're just trying to hit a hard ground ball to one of the middle infielders and hope you pick the right one.
Hammered into the left field corner, hooking, and just foul. So he almost made up for the failed hit and run with a home run to left.
Well, he also missed a base hit down the right field line just by a couple balls outside of the white line, and here he just misses a double by being on the left field line by a couple balls against the wall. So that's how it goes when you're struggling, and if he puts it all together, it's a lot different ball game.
Still 2-2.
Yeah, it looks like he's not real comfortable at the plate, and like you said, he just kind of shuffling. When he swings, both of his feet move at the same time, and you want to try to hit with a strong base. And right now, it's like he's just jumping at the ball away rather than taking a good swing at it.
Here's the swing on the long foul ball. We're just watching his feet.
So the feet stay down on that one, but see how he slides back, and when you slide your feet back, it makes it hard to hit the ball away.
Hit that ball hard, but lines the center.
Yeah, once that foot comes out of the ground, you lose your base and you lose your ability to drive the ball, and really, Brian, you just swing with your upper half.
Inc. College Nights every Wednesday at Kauffman Stadium. $7 lower level seats to high school and college students with a valid ID. Student ID. And May 27th is our next Inc. College Nights. It's also a happy hour with concession specials and the brand new outfield experience. So come on out. That'll be the Royals and the first place Tigers. Tigers have already won today. Miguel Cabrera with the game-winning RBI. So the Tigers sweep the Rangers, and now the Tigers have won 6 in a row. David DeJesus has struck out, singled, stole his first base, and scored a run in the third inning. And right now that run is the difference in the game. Two and one. Pavano now at 81 pitches, and remember, mentioned it a couple times, that he's only averaged about 84 pitches per start. The Royals would love to get into that bullpen around the 5th inning. Royals with 2 in the first. Butler doubled home Callaspo, and then Butler scoring on a Guillen single. Indians tied it with 2 in the third. Royals regained the lead in the bottom of the third on Jacobs' single that scored to Jesus. And now David right to the second baseman Valbuena. Pavano faces just 3 in the fourth.
Against Victor Martinez, he goes fastball, slider, another slider that he really fouled off. And he took a couple good sliders down inside. And then Zach just said, okay, I'm going to throw you a fastball inside. And he couldn't pull the trigger on it. And that's where he got the strikeout.
The RBs pitch by pitch, and that resulted in Zach's 7th strikeout. And the second time he has struck out Martinez. Martinez also has an RBI single. And now Shin-Soo Choo hammers the first pitch into right field. So Chu is 2 out of 3. Leadoff man on, and let's find Joel Goldberg.
Well, we just found your buddy. They're saying they're getting texts that he's on more than the game. Tell us your name, sir.
My name's Mike Minkovich.
All right, so Mike Minkovich, kind of like Mankiewicz, but maybe not really. And they have dubbed you the umpire because you're making a few calls out here and into it today.
Yeah, oh yeah. We were out here Tuesday night and had the best time we've had ever since, the 70s, the heyday of the Royals, and just having a good time.
I like the fact that guys right after that single, before we came on camera, that the hit gets through and saw a big just he's living and dying with every pitcher. You guys have any questions for the 5th umpire? I just want to make sure.
Yeah. How is he enjoying his Topsies popcorn?
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going to steal this right out of the purse. She's looking at me like, what are you doing? There's not much left of the Topsies. They want to know how you're enjoying the Topsies.
Hey, the popcorn great. It's the game, though.
Not as good as the game. I can't believe I just took this out of your purse. I'm sorry. She's looking at me like she said there's no money in there. It's okay. They do want to know if you're going to make every Greinke start this year.
I'm going to try, but I have to work nights, so it's going to be kind of difficult.
Okay, which leads me to what my other question was. I was going to ask you whether you were skipping work today and if I should ask you whether you could be on camera, but then I realized it's too late for that.
Yeah, no, I work nights, and so everything's good.
All right, well, we're glad. The text messaging should continue at a rapid pace here. That is Mike, the 5th umpire, guys.
Thank you for the pass.
Whoa, you hear that? I think we just found somebody that yells strike louder than Jim Joyce.
Except the pitch was a ball, but we're not keeping track of that.
It doesn't matter. He's just playing for the camera. Just change the board right now to 2-1. Somebody's going to be confused.
There's the strike. So 3-1 on Johnny Peralta, who has grounded out and walked so far. Well, Mike was a fan, as he said, in the heyday, but he's not the only one who's paying a little closer attention to the Royals this year, and especially when Zach Greinke's on the mound.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to make every effort to make every start, and working nights won't be easy, but you do thank him for the passion.
Zach has his first double play behind him today. That gets Mike excited. And that coming on a 3-1 pitch to Peralta after the leadoff single from Chu.
Well, Mike did a good job right there. We talked about it, Ryan, those one hoppers. Just get on the side, make the hop longer so you can see it longer. And he does a great job of making that play and feeding Caspo for the double play.
And now DeRosa, who had never faced Zach before today, and so far a ground out and a strikeout. And Billy over near the tarp had to deal with the corner of the dugout suite railing, but hangs on to it. Zach has a 7-pitch fifth. By Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer. Nice crowd and rivals, although not as packed as it normally is, because today is a beautiful day. You want to be sitting in your seats, getting outside, maybe enjoying the Bud Light party deck. A 7-strikeout game for Zach Greinke. Royals lead by 1, and Callaspo again picking on right center field, but Ben Francisco with a diving play.
Well, Carpavano leaves a fastball up again, and Caspo really turns the top hand on that fastball and drives it into right center field. But Francisco made an outstanding play. This is an outstanding play for a center fielder right here.
And he is filling in for Grady Sizemore, who hasn't been able to play center field because of a sore left elbow, a Gold Glover. So Francisco getting a chance in this series to show that he can play the elite outfield position. So Callaspo 1 for 3. He had doubled to right center in the first inning. Billy also doubled in the first, driving in Callaspo, and then he scored on Jose Guillen's base hit. The Royals had a 2-0 lead. Indians tied it in the third. Royals regained the lead in the bottom of the third on Jacobs' base hit. Carl Pavano at 86 pitches. one out in the 5th inning. That slider struck out Butler in the 3rd inning.
Well, that slider's gotten a lot of guys today on both sides. Right-handed hitters just can't seem to hold up on that slider today. And a lot of times that's a result of maybe the deception that the pitcher has when he throws that pitch, or the arm slot being the same as a fastball. But there, the changeup was it got ability to chase that changeup on the outside corner. That's a pitch that really, like most changeups, it turns over, where the other ones kind of go down and away from lefties down into right-handers bats. But Pavano's changeup just turns over and goes straight down.
As part of the Royals salute to the Negro Leagues on Saturday, May the 30th, first 20,000 fans will get a replica Monarchs jersey from Pepsi. So come on out. That's the Royals and the White Sox during the next homestand. More division play at home for KC after the 3-game trip to St. Louis. Mike Jacobs has struck out, and he has singled home a run. One ball, one strike. Speaking of the White Sox, they trail Minnesota right now 16-0. That pitch just destroyed our Mike. That was an expensive pitch past Kelly shopping.
This pitch shouldn't have gotten by. Nobody on base. He figured, I'm not going to block this ball.
We have an expensive microphone back there. 2-2 on Jacobs. Well, we mentioned earlier the White Sox have a deal in place with the Padres to acquire Jake Peavy, but early indication Peavy, who can veto the trade, may do just that. Full count on Jacobs.
Well, there's no doubt the weather in San Diego is a lot better than the weather in Chicago, but you have to look at both teams and see which team gives you the best option to win at this point.
White Sox reports they are offering Clayton Richard and a minor league prospect to the Padres. They say that Jake Peavy really wants to stay in the National League and doesn't want to get too far from his Southern California home. And if he's going to be traded, and nothing against the White Sox, I mean, they might pull it together, but if he can dictate where he gets traded, I mean, do you want to go to a team right now that's 5 games under 500? Or do you want to wait and maybe go to a team that's in first or second place? Jacobs down on strikes. Pavano has his second 1-2-3 inning. He has struck out 7. Back in the second inning. And Ben Francisco nearly hitting the first home run against Greinke this year. And David DeJesus nearly making a great catch. Francisco ended up with a triple. Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And it's Francisco who leads off and takes high from Zach.
Dating back to last year, 93 innings without a home run. And that was the closest he's come.
This time the curveball is in for a strike.
They wanted a higher walls in baseball and here in Kansas City.
Francisco's homered 4 times this year. Got that one down around the end of the bat. And Meyer in center with the catch. Zach giving up 2 runs in the third inning. That's the first time all year he's allowed multiple runs in 1 inning. So 1 out in the 6th, and here's Joel Goldberg.
I'm down in the dugout suite, and you got the Z's up here. I also wanted to point out that we got some T-shirts, and this is the next T-shirt Tuesday. This group, I think, thinks I'm going to give it to him. It's the only one I have. This is Zach, and a Jack, a Queen, a King, and the Ace will be Zach Greinke. That's June 16th, and then
now Kelly Shopik into left center, and David DeJesus wants it. 2 fly ball outs in the 6th. Go ahead, Joel.
Well, then I got this T-shirt that a guy gave me the other day from Miser Sports and Varsity Sports, and it's just a big Greinke with the K in the middle. And I think we've seen some of those. So obviously a big deal. This is a fun group down here. This is Samsung. They're all with their boss, so they're not going to get in trouble. But they said that there's a few of the people here are from Korea, or they're Korean, so they've been yelling at Shin-Soo Choo all game. They say good things, not bad things. So we got to get them to taunt him a little bit. There's a guy named Q that's going to change his name to Z, by the way. That's all I got.
Well, if they ordered that dugout suite in advance, they picked a great day. Beautiful day to be outside. Leave work a little early. Zach Greinke pitching. This isn't vintage Zach Greinke, but has a 3-2 lead into the 6th inning.
Well, this is what you call pitching right here. You don't have your best command, and I think he always has good stuff. But if you don't have your best command, but you're able to keep your team in it, weather through some of the storms that he's been able to weather through, to me, that's pitching. And that's what you want on the mound, is a guy that can pitch and not just throw.
Valbuena 1 for 2, a single and a run scored. Now 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now, if Zach can get out of this inning by retiring Valbuena, he'll be right at about 100 pitches, 101, 102. And Trey Hillman could send him back out for the 7th. Horacio Ramirez not throwing, just kind of standing on the mound. Still 2-2 on Valbuena. It was a tough night last night for the Royals bullpen. Gil Mesh left the game after 6 with a 4-2 lead. The Indians scored 4 against the Royals pen. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. Zach's season high for pitches, 115. That was the complete game loss to Joe Saunders and the Angels 2 starts ago. Struck him out, and Zach's 8th, so hang another Z. Royals lead 3-2.
Ring will win $800. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Ring will win $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals.
Jose Guillen just getting underneath that pitch from Pavano and flies out. Guillen singled home a run back in the first inning and then had his helmet knocked off by a Pavano pitch in the third, but was fine. And that brings up Martin, who is grounded out and walked. Carl Pavano has pitched well today.
He has. I mean, the pitch count's up, but he's done a good job moving the ball around and changing speeds, and he's pretty much kept the Royals off balance.
Martinez has to get it to Pavano. And he has 2 outs on 3 pitches. Carl Pavano beginning his career with the Expos and traded to the Marlins. And in 2004 he went 18-8. His career record was still below 500, but he picked a good time to be 18-8 because that was his free agent year, and he got $38 million to pitch for the Yankees. But in 4 seasons, he pitched 26 games. Went on the disabled list his first year with a right shoulder injury. Then he got in a car accident, broke some ribs, and back and elbow problems, Tommy John surgery. And I don't think anyone would have disagreed at that time that Carl Pavano was a real up-and-comer, but it just did not work out for him in the Bronx.
Well, usually it's injuries that really curtails your career. When you have a series of them, they can affect you in a lot of different ways. But he's come back and he's learned how to pitch. I mean, he knows how to change speeds. He knows how to keep hitters off balance. And really, when it comes down to it, that's what pitching is right now. Just breaking the hitter's timing, pitching both sides of the plate, and changing speeds.
He is from Connecticut and grew up a Yankees fan, so it was all supposed to come together for him when he signed that contract. 8 strikeouts for him today. Second time he's had 8 in a game against the Royals this year. Give the Royals a 2-0 lead. Indians tied it in the third. And then Mike Jacobs putting the Royals back in front with this single in the third inning. And Zach Greinke is done after 6. As Horacio Ramirez will take over in front of a big crowd at Kauffman Stadium. School in session. Midweek. No big promotion except for the Royals playing well and Zach Greinke on the mound. Now the Royals trying to hang on to a 1-run lead. Ramirez will get the top of the Cleveland order. Giving up 2 runs in 6 innings, Zack Greinke's ERA is still well below 1.82. He did give up 8 hits in his 6 innings. Cabrera had 2 of those hits. That was as a left-hand batter. Also added his 7th stolen base of the year. He's had 5 hits in this 3-game series. That's foul. The Royals' next home game will be Memorial Day at Kauffman Stadium, and you're going to get a great deal. $5 upper level tickets, part of a Royal night at the K, and dollar concessions as part of Independence Honda Buck Night. So all that coming up on Monday with the first place Tigers in town. It's a 1:10 game. Come on out. That's the 3rd hit of the game for Asdrubal Cabrera. And brings up Brady Sizemore.
Well, Cabrera's really making Eric Wedge look good in that leadoff spot. He's really swinging the bat with a nice short swing from both the right and left side.
Brady Sizemore 1 for 1 in 3 plate appearances. Tried to set up a run in the 1st inning, laying down a sac bunt. Singled and scored in the 3rd, snapping an 0 for 17, and then he walked in the 4th, and now he wants to bunt again. Ramirez cuts it off and went directly to the line to get Sizemore. May have had a chance at second base, but decided to take the sure out. So Sizemore has his 2nd sac bunt of the game.
Well, this is a decision he's got to make pretty quickly here. He did a good job taking a great angle to get that ball, but never even considered second base. He just wanted to make sure he got the out. It would have been pretty tough for him to stop his momentum after stretching out to cut that ball off and redirect it back to second base. So he went ahead and just took the easy out.
The tying runner at second base, 1 out, with .399 hitting Victor Martinez up there. 1 for 3 against Zach. 2 strikeouts, but his 1 hit drove in a run. And now he hits it to Billy. To Ramirez for out number 2. Cabrera moves up to 3rd. And when you say Billy plays off the line, I mean, man, he plays way off the line.
Well, that's what they got him in the base hit hole, and that's where most of your base hits are going to go. And probably because he probably goes better to his left, and they can do that. And that's the one ball that you want him to go for right there. The one that's hit firm, 1 step. But he does a great job getting his body back toward the pitcher so he can have a good follow through, and he really served the ball well chest high to Ramirez, because he's got to not only hit the base right, but he's got to turn and look home in case the runner tries to go home.
2 hits for Shin-Soo Choo against Zack Greinke. Zach struck him out in the 1st. Ramirez backing off the rubber after Cabrera made a dash towards the plate.
Well, the base runner is really doing a smart thing. He's going to take as much as Martin gives him. So the further Martin's off 3rd, that's as far they're going to come down the line, which I think is the proper way to do it. And so he's going to make somebody pay attention to him. So Ramirez basically just can't be slow to the plate. If the guy's going to get that big a lead, he's got to be quicker to the plate.
Rossy Ramirez pitched well in the game on Tuesday. The Indians got 5 runs in 6 innings off of Brian Bannister. Took a 5-2 lead into the 9th, but Ramirez 2 scoreless innings to keep the game under control, and then the Royals had that great 4-run ninth to win it. And now it's 3-1 on Shin-Soo Choo. Shin-Soo Choo has swung the bat well, 5 for 10 in this series with 2 walks. He's got his average over 300. Making Ramirez throw another strike, and it's 3-2. He didn't look like he had any intention of swinging the bat at all. Cabrera singled, went to second on a bunt, to third on a ground ball. Choo really looks like he's trying to go to left field against Ramirez.
Yeah, he's really trying to stay on top of that high fastball, and he seems like looked to me like he's seeing the ball pretty good. And he took the 3-1 pitch, was right there, and that tells you he's really seeing the ball. And he just, Ramirez wants to get him out of the way. He'll stay on it and try to get a line drive to left center field.
Into center. And the Indians have tied the game. So no 8th win for Zach Greinke today. Choo has 3 hits and drives in his second. Trey Hillman is out. And is going to bring in Jamie Wright to face the right-hand batter Johnny Peralta. Fast forward and rewind live TV. Jamie Wright on for the 2nd straight game last night, giving up 2 runs in a third of an inning, and called on to take care of Johnny Peralta with Shin-Soo Choo at first base, and 2 down in the 7th inning. Choo's single just scored as Drupal Cabrera to tie the game.
But sinker ballers have to make the ball sink, and Jamie last night felt he was too strong and the ball wouldn't sink for him, and that's what got him in trouble.
Jamie's a big guy, but he has quick feet and a very good move over to first for a right-hand pitcher. 0-1 on Peralta. 2 ground balls and a walk today for the Indians' third baseman. One of the ground balls was a double play.
Well, Chu is just like Rivera. 6 stolen bases and no caught stealing, so he's a guy that Jamie Wright's really paying attention to at first base.
Close pitch, 1-1.
Well, this is a slider for Jamie Wright. And I think that pitch is pretty much where he wants it right there. And then when it crosses home plate, he's got a better chance of being a strike. He caught it pretty good behind the plate, but I think if you ask him if he can throw that pitch again, that's where you want that slider right there.
Jamie Wright coming in last night with a 4-2 lead. Gil Mesh gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. A play with some controversy. Jamie Carroll ruled hit by a pitch. It looked like a foul ball. Line to right field. It's going to sail over Jose Guillen. Shin-Soo Choo read it right away. He's going to come to the plate, and the throw is short. Royals had a chance to get Shin-Soo Choo at home plate. Callaspo couldn't reach the plate with his throw. But a good read by Shin-Soo Choo. He knew right away that ball was going to sail over Guillen's head.
Well, Guillen took the car. He did a step in on this ball. He came in 2 steps, and this one the ball went over his head right there. So he really read the ball wrong off the bat. Now here, Callaspo has a good opportunity to get him at the plate, but just comes up a little short with his throw.
So the Indians lead for the first time today. That run is charged to Zach Greinke. Check that. That is charged to Horacio Ramirez, who began the inning. So 2/3 of an inning and 2 runs charged to Ramirez. So the Royals bullpen has given up 6 runs in the last 2 games. And that's only 3 2/3 innings. So Greinke 2 runs in 6 innings. Ramirez 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. DeRosa 0 for 3. All those at bats against Greinke. The longer this inning goes, better chance the Royals are going to get into the Indians bullpen. Carl Pavano is over 100 pitches. Now he has retired the last 8, but doing a lot of sitting around as the Royals have made a couple of pitching changes in this inning, and the Indians have scored 2. DeRosa strikes out. The inning is over, but Cleveland getting RBIs from Chu and Peralta to take the lead. Best of the American League, brought to you by Panera Bread. Tigers winning their 6th in a row. So 2.5-game lead at the moment. 20-0. Minnesota beating up on Chicago. Former Royal Jimmy Gobble appeared in that game and gave up a grand slam. Oakland at Tampa Bay is delayed because of dripping paint from the catwalk. I don't know. Those are the day games in the American League.
Have to be something like the lights going out or something like that.
Luis Vizcaíno takes over for the Indians in the 7th inning. Well, they had a long delay the other day in Tampa because of a lineup problem. That was a game between the Rays and the Cleveland Indians when the Rays lineup card had 2 players as listed as the designated hitter. So they lost the DH. The Rays did, and Andy Sonnenstein had to hit for himself. He batted 3rd and had an RBI double and ended up winning the game. Mitch Meyer is lined to center, single to left. Going to be followed by Mike Aviles and David DeJesus. Vizcaíno's been around and he's bounced around. Recently signed by the Indians with their bullpen problems. 2nd highest bullpen ERA in the American League. The Royals will get 3 shots against the bullpen, down by 1. Carl Pavano allows 3 runs in 6 innings. He struck out 7. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now that we're into the 7th inning and the Indians leading, they are in a save situation, so you can have a blown save even if it's before the 9th. And the Indians bullpen has more blown saves than actual saves. They've blown 9, they've saved 8, and the Royals have seen each of the 2. A blown save on Tuesday night when the Royals scored 4 in the bottom of the 9th inning, and then Kerry Wood, hanging on by his fingernails last night, was able to get out of a bases loaded 1 out after he walked the bases loaded but struck out Tien and DeJesus to get out of it. Now Myers strikes out, and the Royals have struck out 8 times today against Pavano and now Vizcaíno. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Mike Aviles striding towards 3rd, had a tough time reaching that pitch over the outside.
Yeah, when he takes that stride, Ryan, he really cuts his play coverage down, and I think that's part of the problem right now is getting a good play coverage, and like I say, his feet are not staying planted in the ground, and that really hurts him when he wants to go out and try to get those pitches.
Let me correct myself. The Royals have struck out 9 times today. Pavano struck out 8. Carl Pavano in 2 starts against the Royals has struck out 16 in 12 innings. It's been a tough day for Aviles. A strikeout in the 2nd, lined out to center in the 4th, but in that same at bat swung and missed on a hit and run, and Mitch Meyer was thrown out easily at 2nd base.
That's the one thing on a hit and run. It's kind of like a squeeze bunt. You at least want to foul the ball off, and because most base runners aren't going to steal a base on 3 and 2. They're just getting a good jump, make sure you put the ball in play. They're looking to be able to make the turn at 2nd and go 1st to 3rd.
Vizcaíno, between 2002 and 2008 was traded 6 times. 6 times in 7 seasons. That gets through Valbuena. The Royals have a runner at first.
You know, one rule of thumb on balls to your right as an infielder, if you can't go to your right and get that right foot down and be in a good fielding position, then you're probably better off just backhand the ball and make the play from there. But Valbuena, he doesn't quite get his right foot down, and the ball plays him in that situation. So it's all about making the play easier for you. So if you can't get the right foot down, have the ball in the center of your body, you just go ahead and backhand the ball and make the play to first base from there.
And now Willie Bloomquist is going to run for Mike Aviles. This series has not been a defensive clinic at all for either team, but that is the first error.
Well, I think you just got a first-hand look over the last couple of games at how many ways you can beat yourself without it being an error. And it just goes back to the fundamental things that Trey Hillman were trying to impose on his club in spring training. Play catch, you know, just simply play catch, and the drills that they did in the rundown plays, and how you want to make it one throw, run the runner back to the base he came from. Just things like that really can cost you 1 run in a ball game.
You know, something that didn't make a whole lot of sense when he was at his introductory press conference, but the more we see now what he was talking about, that everything is just an extension of a game of catch. This game could still be tied right now if the Royals could play catch on a double from Johnny Peralta to the fence in right field. Jose Guillen didn't read it well, but got to the ball. He was able to play catch with Callaspo, but Callaspo is unable to play catch on his throw to the plate with Olivo.
Right. Mainly just getting that short hop, and that's pretty tough for a catcher. Kind of holds them back, and they can't really catch the ball on a long hop and maneuver their body like they want to. So that when you're receiving a throw from the outfielder, you got to kind of angle your body to where you want to throw and get your feet moving and catch the ball in a position where you can make a good throw, where Alberto got a little turned around and had to try to throw the ball mainly from a flat foot and stance.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes. I mean, it's going to be a close play, and so you have to, you have to hurry your throw, and you get caught in that flat-footed situation. But I wonder if you take that split second longer to get your feet underneath you, do you make up that time by making a better throw to the plate?
Well, you give the outfielder a face. You face him first, and once he releases the ball, then you get on the side of the ball. That if you're right-handed thrower, then you want to get on that side of the ball. And then as the throw comes close to you, now you want to get your feet moving toward the target. So you just want to be able to catch and throw. You don't want to catch, then take a crow hop, then throw. You want to be into your crow hop as you're catching the ball.
Shallow center field. Valbuena has to fight the sun, but runs it down. So Bloomquist at first with 2 down for Callaspo.
You know, for all the fans out there that don't understand the word crow hop, you can help me here. I mean, you can say you can shuffle your feet toward the target, which would give them some kind of idea what you're talking about, because baseball people understand what crow hop means.
Well, let's see if I can do it and describe it at the same time. You leap, but 1 foot before the other, so you start with your front leg, right?
You've got me confused.
Well, I think if I got now, just is this a crow hop?
No, that's not a crow hop.
Oh,
no, that's jumping a rope. That's jumping over a rope or something. Crow hop is when you slide to your side. You slide. It's that little hop you take before you throw. When you see the infielders catch the ball, then they take a little 2-step, then they throw.
Ball is in and out of the glove of Cabrera, and the Royals get a break. Bloomquist may have been out if Cabrera hangs on. Willie steals second to put the tying run in scoring position.
Well, this is what the Royals need right here. Someone that can come in late and steal a big base, and that ball never did go in his glove.
Eighth stolen base for Willie Bloomquist. He's been caught once. Aspo taking a strike to allow Bloomquist to steal second. Aspo with a .400 batting average with runners in scoring position, and that is the 4th best in the league. Bloomquist running for Mike Aviles, who reached on an error by Valbuena. Pretty good swing. It's 1-2. So all those years I thought I was crow hopping through life, and no, huh? I was. What the heck was I doing? I was just skipping rope, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's double Dutch. Our producer Kevin Shank put the spy cam on us.
I feel like I've been cheated out of some years of my life.
Well, think about those days you played center field at the University of Minnesota. You came up with the ball, and you take those two hops before you throw the ball.
And that's not a crow hop. So if I'm fielding that ball in center field and I get that big hop like that, that's not a crow hop?
Only if you're moving forward. But you gotta move forward with it.
Well, of course I'd be moving forward.
Well, but
this is very confusing.
But here you jumping straight up in the air, so.
So I'm fielding that thing in the outfield, right? Okay.
I'll move
and then I do the crop like that.
That's it.
That's a crow hop?
That's it.
Okay. Oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah, you were just jumping.
I kind of lost part of my identity there for a while.
You were just jumping straight up in the air, so I didn't really know what you were doing there.
It was like telling me your real name is Bill and these aren't your parents. Royals lead Bloomquist at second base. Indians lead by 1 at the end of 7. Royals down by 1 and now to the 8th inning. It's easy to look ahead in this game, and the longer guys play in this game, Juan Cruz takes over in the 8th, you learn the importance of taking it one game at a time, one pitch at a time, on and on. The Royals had a 4-0 homestand against Chicago and Seattle. Had won 6 in a row on the road to face the Angels, who were not playing that well at the time. A good team, not playing well at the time. Let a couple of games, one for sure, get away there. Then you go play the A's, who weren't scoring any runs at all. And then you could look forward to this homestand against two teams that were in last place, the Baltimore Orioles in the East and the Cleveland Indians in our division. And it would be really easy to think, hey, we can really pad the win-loss record, maybe create some distance, as the Royals were in first place between the Royals and the rest of the pack. But an 0-5 road trip, and now this is a big deciding game. This is the difference between a losing homestand against Baltimore and Cleveland or a winning homestand. 4-3. Francisco lays down a bunt, and the Royals are thrilled to see him not swing the bat. Juan Cruz makes a decent throw. Butler helps him out, and Francisco is 1 out of 4.
Well, it's really a good effort right here, but Juan Cruz is pretty quick. He does a good job getting over, getting his feet set, and Billy does a good job of getting the throw and getting out of the way of the runner. You know, getting back to what you were saying, Ryan, early in the year, the pitching really carried the ball club. And at the same time, the defense was right in line with the pitching for the most part, making the plays, pitchers pitching out of tough situations. But you go back to that third game in Anaheim when Jamie Wright threw the ball into center field. That was really the first sort of chink in the armor that you saw from the defense, and it sort of carried from there. And it seems like all the, I don't want to say skeletons on your ball club seem to all kind of start to come out slowly after that game, and even in last night's game, you know, with the I like to call them mental mistakes that the team has made. So it's almost like it's come full circle. So now it's about putting it all back together, getting the pitching, getting the defense, and getting everything all in the timely hitting together and get back on a roll again.
And with yesterday being game number 40, both Trey Hillman and Dayton Moore were asked to give their assessments of the first quarter of the 2009 season, and there was a lot of similarities, which, you know, makes a lot of sense because they talk at least once a day, if not several times a day. But happy with the pitching, feel like the offense is going to stabilize, and there really isn't a whole lot of big concern about the offense. It can improve, but both factored on or focused on. Shopik just barely stays alive. Both focus quite a bit on defense, improving defense, and Trey Hillman used the word urgency today, that not panic, but he'd like to see more of a sense of urgency from his defense, that certain plays need to be made, and they need to be made right now.
Well, and I think too it comes back to the player being ready mentally to go out there every day and compete. And even though you're not swinging the bat well, you still have to play defense. You have to be able to separate the different phases of the game, from pitching to hitting, the defense to base running, and focus on those when it's that time. You know, if it's time to play defense, forget about your offense, just go play defense. When you're on the base, you know, forget about your offense, run the bases. So you have to be focused in all these areas in order to win consistently at this level.
Staying back on a slider and lining it into right field. Shopik, for just a split second in that at bat, looked like he was fooled and locked up, but able to keep his hands back and lines it to right.
Well, this is a slider that kind of stayed up out over the plate, and he just let it come to him, and he just stayed behind it and hit it the way you should hit a slider, to the opposite way, and got the base hit. That was a nice swing and a nice piece of hitting by Kelly Shopik.
So he's 1 for 4 and brings up Luis Valbuena. Singled and scored in the 3rd inning. And then he struck out twice. He was the last man to face Zach Greinke. Zach struck out 8 in his 6 innings. Zach finished by retiring 6 of the last 7, including a 1-2-3 bottom of the 6th, but at 103 pitches, the Royals figured that was enough for him today, and then the bullpen gave up 2 runs in the 7th, both charged to Horacio Ramirez. 0-2 from Juan Cruz to Luis Valbuena. In the bottom of the 8th, Butler, Jacobs, and Guillen coming up. Long run for 3 Royals, and Bloomquist, who stopped for a moment, or at least slowed down, maybe assuming that Tien was going to make the play, and then tried to put it into high gear, but couldn't catch up to it.
Well, this is always going to be the shortstop's ball when possible, because he's got the best angle on this play, and that's why the communication is really important right here.
He was calling for it, but maybe he wasn't convinced that Mark Tien was going to get out of the way.
Well, I think that's probably what it is, and just being familiar with each other and playing next to each other a little bit more, and you run into the same thing on ground balls between the two fielders.
And given another opportunity, Valbuena hits one past the bag at first. So we talked last inning about the Royals needing to do a better job of playing catch. This time they needed to just catch it.
But Bloomquist is calling for it, and then for some reason he looked down one more time at Tien, and that slowed him down just enough not to catch that ball. And getting new life. There's a double right inside the first base bag.
That's 13 hits for the Indians in 7 1/3 innings. The Royals are going to bring the infield in for Asdrubal Cabrera, who has swung the bat extremely well in this series. 6 hits, including 3 today. Royals hoping for a ground ball and a play at the plate. Cabrera is hitting .323. That's overall, but .350 with runners in scoring position. Into deep right, Guillen won't get there. Valbuena collided with the umpire, but still is going to come home to score. He and Bill Miller ended up in the same spot in between 2nd and 3rd. And Cabrera with his 4th hit of the game. Now Cleveland leads by 3. It's been a tough last 2 games for the Royals bullpen.
That's a pitch that really just stayed right out over the plate. It didn't sink at all, and he just drove it in the right center field, and the Indians were able to get a couple runs on that. But he just got a short, compact stroke, and he just waits and waits till the ball travels and just trusts his hands to work. And see, every time he hits the ball, it's a double.
Well, the Royals bullpen in the last 2 games has allowed 8 runs in 4 1/3 innings.
Well, it was a time this season we didn't think they were going to get much work at all. And now lately they're getting a lot of work.
Cruz opened the inning getting a ground ball from Ben Francisco and threw him out himself, but Shopik staying back on that slider, single to right. Valbuena getting some bonus time after the Royals didn't handle a foul pop-up, doubled, and Cabrera getting them both to the plate. 0-1 on Grady Sizemore, who has one official at bat so far today. 2 sacrifice bunts, a walk, and that one hit, a single in the third. Big for him because it snaps an 0 for 17. We were wondering last night why Grady Sizemore was the designated hitter for a second straight game, and then after the game Eric Wedge admitted that Sizemore is dealing with a bit of a sore left elbow, so the DH in all 3 games, and now you wonder how much that elbow's been bothering his hitting.
Well, you can't really do a great job with a sore elbow, that's for sure, and I'm sure it comes into play somewhere in his swing, but I don't think that Grady Sizemore would use that as a reason for why he's struggling.
Now, if you are, for him being a left-hand batter, his left elbow is his top hand. So if he is bottom hand dominant to compensate, is that going to make him pulling too many balls? I mean, I guess it'd be different for every guy, but generally speaking, if you're top hand dominant, because I know coming into the series, one of the things that the Indians were concerned about Grady Sizemore is that he was pulling everything. And that's why they moved him to number 2, thinking that if Cabrera could continue to get on base the way he has, well, maybe him pulling it to the right side would result in getting some ground ball base hits into right field.
Well, I can see if he's pulling the ball and getting through the ball, it shouldn't be a problem. But if he's hitting around the ball and hitting over the top of the ball, then that could put some discomfort to the elbow right there.
Which could be a result of being a little too bottom hand dominant, right?
Well, yeah, you can be both top and bottom when you're pulling everything, but mainly it's the top hand coming over the top of the bottom hand.
Mike Aviles dealing with a little bit of that with his tight right forearm. And of course, what makes it hurt even worse, whether it's a hand or an arm, is when you swing and miss, when you make contact.
Yeah, swing and miss is a problem. Right? You're right. You're right there, right.
Well, he is spraying the ball all over the place and still live at 3-2 against Cruz.
See, if you take a look at this swing around, watch his top hand and how fast it comes through on this pitch to make him pull. So it's really the top hand that's kind of driving that, and the bottom hand's kind of following.
Cabrera at second base with 1 out. And another foul ball. It's a 24 pitch inning for Juan Cruz. And this is just his 5th batter. Kyle Davies will pitch tomorrow against former Royal Todd Wellemeyer. And a walk. And speaking of walk, Trey Hillman will do that to the mound. So Cruz gets 1 out in the 8th inning. Ron Mayhay coming into the game. don't know what that was. There he is. I don't think he realized he was in the limbo contest. That guy just felt like dancing.
Well, you can tell he's never limboed.
Tough day for the Royals. Down 6-3. They still have 2 at-bats coming up. Ron Mayhay becomes the 5th Royals pitcher. Zach Greinke had allowed 2 runs in 6 innings, but he was out after 103 pitches, and now the bullpen has given up 4 runs in an inning and a third. And Ron Mayhay is the 4th reliever in the last 2 innings, and that's sliced off the bat of Martinez into the corner and could score 2 more. 8-3 Cleveland with 1 out in the 8th inning. Victor Martinez has driven in 3 today.
There's a fastball on the outer half, and he just really stayed with it and just kept that ball fair. That's really tough to do for a right-hander, but he kept it fair inside the line in right field and played it 2 more runs for the indent.
Well, hindsight being what it is, I'm sure the question will come up after the game. Could Zach have gone back out for a 7th inning after 103 pitches?
Well, you want to try to limit your bullpen to as few innings as possible in any ball game. So if you're going to come out after 6 innings, a lot as the starters, that means that your bullpen's going to get a lot more work, and they're going to have to be able to come out and throw strikes.
Now, it wasn't an easy 6 innings for Zach Greinke. He gave up 2 runs on 8 hits, and he dealt with base runners all game. His only 1-2-3 inning was his last, but he did retire 6 of the last 7. Struck out the last man he faced on an ugly swing from Luis Valbuena, which Frank immediately declared will make the list. When we have some bad swings and we wonder, and I don't know where that list is, but it's somewhere. Maybe it's in our minds. Most of the time, Frank, being the former major leaguer, he's a little less critical because he remembers how hard it was to hit at this level. So sometimes I have to do a little bit of a selling job. But when Frank looks at me and says that made the list, that's saying something. Mayhay gets a ground ball from Shin-Soo Choo, and Martinez moves to third base. So my point is, though, that Zach finished strong. Even though he labored for many of his 6 innings, he did finish strong, but not sure if it was Zach suggesting or the dugout suggesting, but in the end 103 pitches was enough, and something has happened to Victor Martinez as the Indians athletic trainer and Eric Wedge out to look at his right foot, maybe right ankle, right knee, right something. Martinez with 3 RBIs. Shin-Soo Choo has driven in 2, as Drupal Cabrera has driven in 2. And the Indians today looking a lot like Remember that one year they had the day-night doubleheader and they played one game in one stadium and then switched for the nightcap. T&O for 2 with a walk.
Frost.
Beautiful day, tough game so far for the Royals and their fans. The Royals with just 3 more outs to go, and on offense that is, and down by 5. Kyle Farnsworth will pitch the top of the 9th. He'll face Mark DeRosa, Ben Francisco, and Kelly Shopik. DeRosa into left center, cut off by DeJesus, and DeRosa, no sense trying to stretch that into a double. That's his first hit, 1 for 5.
He didn't waste any time jumping on that first pitch fastball.
And now Ben Francisco, 1 for 4. Well, Minnesota running away from the White Sox in that game in Chicago. The White Sox did get to within 19, but Chicago won it 20-1. Joe Nathan finished the game. He was not credited with either a full save or a partial save. 20-1. And I don't know what the worst news is on the south side, that or the fact that Jake Peavy might veto the trade and not go to the White Sox.
So if that happens, they would have lost a doubleheader today. They probably feel like they played a doubleheader with all those runs going around the bases.
Kelly Shopik, 1 out of 4. But that single, that run in the 8th inning, was the beginning of a 4-run 8th. All the runs charged to Juan Cruz, turning a 1-run game into a 5-run game. Kelly Shopik, a former 2nd-round draft pick of the Boston Red Sox in 2001. So they had some hopes for him. Of course, Jason Varitek was in town, so I don't know if they figured he would bump Varitek, but possibly be trade bait if the Red Sox wanted to improve their major league roster. That's a called strike, but somehow gets away from Miguel Olivo. It's going to be a pass ball on Olivo, and DeRosa to second base.
This is a fastball here that really had some good tail, and Olivo really should have changed the glove angle to try to track the ball to his left, but he tried to go with the elbow out, and the ball just kind of slid right off the heel of his glove.
Shopik, drafted out of Baylor. But 1 year after he was drafted, he had surgery on his right shoulder, and that changed everything, and became a backup catcher prospect, but got all that playing time last year and hit the 21 home runs. So Farnsworth strikes out his second after the leadoff single to DeRosa, bringing up Luis Valbuena. I don't know if there's one critical play of the game so far today, but one of them was Valbuena's at bat in the 8th inning. He had hit a pop-up off the left field line, shallow left, on a ball that looked like it could have been caught by the Royals and would have retired Valbuena. And if the ball was caught, Kelly Shopik is at first base with 2 outs. But the Royals didn't handle the ball, so Valbuena is still alive, doubled up the right field line. And that really got the Indians going, and they ended up scoring 4. Tien and Bloomquist going over to foul ground on the left side.
There was just a lot of indecision on that play. You know, Willie really had a beat on it, and you could see him calling the ball, but for some reason he looked down at Mark one more time, and that slowed him down enough where he couldn't make that play. So you got to really have that communication going, and once a fielder calls for the ball, everybody else have to peel off and not make him feel threatened that he may run into one of the other guys coming down.
Farnsworth strikes out the side after giving up a leadoff single. Royals down by 5. It's the bottom of the 9th. This is the series finale, the homestand finale. Look at Zach Greinke's day, giving up 2 runs in 6 innings. Highlights, interviews, and a preview of the Royals-Cardinals series, which begins tomorrow night in St. Louis. John Buck is going to hit for Miguel Olivo, facing right-hander Matt Hergis. Olivo was 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Those are John Buck's numbers this season. He was in the starting lineup last night, 0 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt and a walk. Speaking of the Cardinals, they will play tonight. They're hosting the Cubs, their arch rival. And the Royals will be in town right about the time that game will start. And no matter what happens in this game and no matter what happens in that game, both the Royals and the Cardinals will be in second place tomorrow. And here are the standings. Milwaukee has really turned things around in the month of May. But it's been a long time since the I-70 series has meant more than just the interstate rivalry. Now 2 teams playing for something.
Well, it's always something to look forward to, Ryan. I think ever since the World Series, the fans have really just gotten on board with this series ever since interleague play started. And now you go back and forth, which is a lot more fun, I think. It just adds a lot more flavor to the season also.
This year in interleague play is going to remind a lot of fans of the beginning of interleague play. The first several years was the East playing the East, the Central playing the Central, the West playing the West, and then they started to rotate divisions. But the Royals are going to play the Cardinals, they're going to play the Reds, they're going to play the Astros, they're going to play the Pirates, who are all in the Central, and they're going to play the Diamondbacks, who are in the West, but mostly teams in the National League Central, and of course 2 series against St. Louis. A walk from Hergis, that's the last thing he wanted to do with a 5-run lead in the 9th inning. So Buck at first for Mitch Meyer. Mitch's single in the 4th inning coming on an 0-2 pitch. And the Royals at that point were in front 3-2, looking for some insurance. And Frank thought maybe Trey Hillman would try a hit and run. That's exactly what he did, but Mitch was thrown out when Mike Aviles failed to make contact. And that was really the last threat the Royals have had. It was way back in the 4th inning. Last hit for the Royals was in the 4th inning.
And with a 5-run lead, I'm surprised that Martinez is not playing behind John Buck at first base. Just trying to make sure you get better defense. You don't want to give that hole away.
Maybe it's the 3 triples that John Buck has that, he's got the league on edge now. He might steal 2nd and 3rd here.
We will definitely applaud him on that.
Shopik still working hard in a 5-run game. A couple of catchers chatting over at first. 2 guys standing on a corner talking about baseball. 3-2 on Meyer. There are not many guys in Major League Baseball history that can claim an evolution like Mitch Meyer, drafted as a catcher, played a year of professional baseball as a catcher, and at some point ended up in center field. Through the right side, so that's what Frank was talking about. You open up that hole. 2 on and nobody out.
Yeah, normally in the 9th inning with a 4-run or more lead, you're just counting outs, and you're really not even worried about the double plays. Just want to make sure you get an out. And when you hold that runner, you really open up that side to a left-handed hitter like Meyer, who can pull the ball through the hole.
So a walk and a single, and now Bloomquist. He ran for Aviles in the 7th inning after Aviles reached on an error and then stole his 8th base. Carl Willis out to visit with Matt Burgess. I don't think Eric Wedge wants to go any further with his bullpen. He has Lewis and Betancourt warming up. Jensen Lewis on the near side. Rafael Betancourt on the far side. Betancourt helping the Indians to their 6-5 win last night. The Royals have done their best work on offense in the 9th inning in this series. 4 runs on Tuesday to win it after being down by 3. Down by 1 last night. They got the bases loaded with 1 out. Couldn't get the run across, but the result was a very tense Cleveland Indians dugout. Still have a little ways to go to create a threat in the bottom of the 9th today, but not making it easy for Hergis and the Indians.
Well, you really have to throw strikes, and when you don't throw strikes, that drives the manager and the pitching coach crazy.
One and one on Bloomquist.
I mean, it's probably a bullpen that's been worked a lot, and your starters aren't going deep in games. They got to come out every night and try to get it done. So as the Indian starters start to stretch themselves out in the game, then I think it's going to give less innings to the bullpen, and it should kind of straighten itself out that way. If that doesn't happen, then I think you'll see this for a long time.
Now 1 ball, 2 strikes. Willie Bloomquist has been getting plenty of playing time. I'm sure a lot more than he and the Royals envisioned when he signed her in the offseason, but with the National League rules coming up over the weekend, everyone has to be ready on the bench with double switches.
Pinch hitting for the pitcher. There'd be a lot of things going on.
It'll be an adjustment for Trey Hillman. Japan is just like the major leagues. They have 2 different leagues, a Central League and a Pacific League. And Trey's league had the American League rules, and they did have some interleague play. So in his 5 years managing over in Japan, he had to make that adjustment for a period of the season, going to the double switches and pitcher hitting, no DH. Three balls, 2 strikes.
And no DH meaning someone's not going to play.
Still 3-2 on Willie. I've always felt that interleague play favors the National League because, especially when you're using the National League rules, I mean, that is such a change for the American League teams. And then even when you do use the DH, the National League gets to play a guy that otherwise wouldn't be playing when you have the extra hitter. Still 3 balls, 2 strikes.
But it always takes one of your weapons out of your lineup for a particular game. Go back even to the World Series. That was the reason I was able to bat 4th in the World Series, because of that rule. And Hal McRae couldn't start in St. Louis, and so it always kind of affects your lineup if you're an American League club going to play National League rules.
Bases loaded, nobody out. And Eric Wedge doing something here in the bottom of the ninth he didn't figure he would have to do and doesn't want to do, but will do, make a pitching change with a 5-run lead in the ninth inning. With that guy doing it alone or with that guy. Rafael Betancourt, who came on late last night and got a couple of strikeouts in the 8th inning in relief of Aaron Laffey, comes on now, and all of a sudden this 9th inning becomes interesting. The potential tying run is still on deck, but the base is loaded with nobody out. Royals down by 5. 2 walks and a single against Matt Hergis, and now David DeJesus. 1 for 4 today, singled, stole a base, and scored in the 3rd. David was all ready for a fastball, and Betancourt pulled the string.
Yeah, coming out of that bullpen, you have to be ready to be able to throw a breaking ball for a strike first pitch, because they are geared for the fastball. Most guys come out of that bullpen throwing fastballs, so if you can get that breaking ball over, it just makes you that much more effective.
David did not face Betancourt last night. And Peralta makes the catch and then has his legs taken out by Asdrubal Cabrera. So that was a play the Royals did not make back in the 8th inning, which later led to 4 runs. And now Callaspo comes up with the bases loaded.
So that's one of those plays where you got 2 shortstops going for the ball, and both got pretty good range, and one clips the other. But that might have been a good opportunity too for John Buck to score a run there, go back and tag, and once he gets, I know it's not a big run, but it's a nice opportunity to score at that point.
Ball 1 on Callaspo. That's one of those plays where, I mean, there's no reason to be halfway or off the bag. I mean, you should be tagging because if it drops, it's foul. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, in that situation there, they're not really worried about John Buck scoring. They just want to make sure they keep the runner from second coming down to third. So once he got clipped right there, that would have been a good opportunity to score.
The Indians turn a double play, win the game, and win the series. So Betancourt tonight doing what Kerry Wood did last night. A lot less drama, but gets out of a